There we go. So just to confirm, first of all, that you're happy with me audio recording this interview?
I am, yes.
And that you consent to being part of this research project as well?
I do.
Great, thank you very much for that. So could you just tell me a little bit about your role and what you do in your organisation?
So I am the team lead of accounts payable within VHI. And we basically, there's 3 of us on the team, and we basically look after all invoices to all our suppliers for VHI Group as a whole.
Okay. And how long have you been in that role?
I'm with VHI 21 years, and I'm in this role roughly about 7 years.
Okay.
I've had it at a couple of stages throughout my time, so.
Okay. Yeah. And you're responsible for doing performance management as such with your team,
I am.
Are you? Yeah, grand. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you just tell me a little bit about what you perceive to be the purpose of the performance management process within your organisation? How is it articulated as such as to why you do it?
It's articulated, I suppose, to ensure that, I suppose, performance is to a standard, first of all, and that the staff member as well as the manager is happy with everything that's going on, training-wise, work-wise, etc. But also to kind of highlight any career expectations that staff would have, training expectations, that kind of thing, issues that are arising, with training or with, I suppose, the odd kind of personal issue might come up if somebody's struggling. So it's kind of an informal chat really, but documented, that you kind of relax and have a chat and say whatever's needed to be said, but we have it there for reference.
Okay. And do you think the actual process that you have in place, does it help you achieve that purpose?
No.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I personally, no. I feel that the form that we have is very outdated. We've kind of had it for a long, long time, and finance department would have used our own form last year. Literally, that we would have used it as a conversation piece and built on it throughout the year, and it wasn't set as strict as what did you do last year, where are you now, what are you going to do. All that stuff was captured, but it was much more user friendly, more relaxed, and everybody seemed to get involved with it a bit more and take it on board a bit more. Whereas the HR form now is very, some of it is weighted and percentage based, and it's just very strict.
Okay.
And I don't think it's quite user friendly to how things are now in the world.
Okay. So I'm particularly interested actually in how managers might vary the practice to suit better what they feel they need within their area or function. So what you're talking to there, for instance, is actually something that I'm very interested in, where you're saying that actually we made an adjustment or we changed it to suit us better as such.
Yeah. And we did that. The form, the finance management actually, it was similar in the way that some of the detail was similar in that you have to put how you got on last year, what are your goals and objectives and stuff for the following year. But we used it as a tool to kind of build on it at every quarter. So every quarterly review, you'd pull it out and you'd build on it, put your information, and it was there for a reference every time. And it was just much, it was more smoother. People definitely got more involved in it and felt it was more, as I say, user friendly, but that it was more beneficial.
Right.
That it wasn't tying back to this. I think the whole weighted percentages actually gives a frightener at the start. Whereas this, even though everybody knew, okay, look, this is a performance review. Yes, it's, how my bonus is going to be based or whatever towards the end of the year. And it's reviewing my actual performance. But it wasn't as frightening as, that might be too strong a word now, but you know what I mean? It wasn't as, oh God, now if I don't hit this mark and that mark and that mark, it's going to be written down and held in evidence against me.
Yeah.
Whereas when finance kind of changed it up a bit and made it more of a a friendlier form and an open chat kind of form that we built on throughout the year. Everyone kind of felt it was just a little bit more relaxed. Still the same stuff was written. We still got to the point of it and used it for year-end reviews. But it was definitely, you knew by chatting to people.
Yeah.
It was definitely more accepted. And then this year, then the HR form was introduced. I suppose that it had to be company-wide used. So again, you got the feedback from a lot of the crew in finance. Oh God, here we go again with this form. Last year's was so much better.
So you had to change back, did you, to what HR? Okay.
Yeah.
And can you just go back to why or who drove the change initially, or what prompted you guys to change it in finance? Was it coming from, sort of someone?
The finance management team. So I suppose we'd have had quite a big restructure with a new HR director in the last year and stuff, and we've a new GM in finance as well. So the management team kind of sat down and said, look, at that time we hadn't been given a directive really, I suppose, from HR as to where to go with this form. So they just kind of sat down as a management team and said, right, look, let's go with this one. This is our own one for this year and let's see how this runs. But then HR kind of this year said, no, everyone needs to be similar as a company. This is it. This is the form that we're going to work on.
Okay. And what do you, when you changed it, at that stage, had you told HR? Now, I understand there's been a change in leadership in HR, so I know that's probably kind of impacted things. But when you as a finance team decided we're going to change this, did you go back to HR and say, look, we're going to change this form, this is what we're using, or did you just get on with it sort of thing?
I honestly don't know, because I suppose it was the management team did it, and then we were just told, so I don't know if they did. Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know whether HR came back about it or whether they even knew, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And then when you were asked to go back to the original form, to use whatever the standard form is or process is, how did you feel about that?
Sorry, say that again. You just broke up there, sorry.
How did you feel about that? Or how did people feel in general about that?
Going back to the old form?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Kind of any conversations I would have had with friends and colleagues would have been, oh, here we go again with this form. And it's just, there's like section A to D. So you use section A for now, and then you jump to section D. And then at the end of the year, you go back to B. It's very confusing. It's not user friendly. And trying to explain it to new staff that have come in from other companies, which I would have had done this year, because last year obviously our form was different and I had a new staff member. Then the form was much easier. This year she was like, this is really what you guys use? And she'd come in from a financial institution, one of the banks as well, so she was really like, God, this makes absolutely no sense. So, and I was like, yeah, we get it, but we've kind of had that similar form for as long as I can remember anyway.
Yeah.
And the general kind of consensus within finance was, no, last year's was so much more better for a performance review form.
And how does it make you feel about HR as such? You know what I mean? The processes that HR ask you to implement. You've gone from a situation of, you've changed something to make it better for yourselves, let's say. Now you've been brought back into the fold, into the standard way that you actually didn't like.
Yeah.
So how do you know what I mean? How does it make you feel about what HR do or what they provide you with, if you know what I mean?
It's quite frustrating, I suppose, because you're asked for input and your voice and your opinion, and then when we've given it and said, this actually worked quite well for us as a division, but then it's just dismissed, I suppose. Well, no, everyone needs to be, and I get that there has to be a standard, but we didn't venture too far from the actual basics. Do you know what I mean? We still had a review of last year, plan for this year, objectives, all of that. The overall basis of it was the same, but it just made staff feel better about a performance review as a whole.
Yeah.
Which, I suppose that's another thing. I think finance staff especially were kind of like, oh God, here we go again. You know, that it's nearly like a waste of time sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just ticking a box. And that form actually did make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.